Thank you, Mr. Streeter, for giving me the opportunity to interview you. Can you start by telling us a little about yourself and your business?
Absolutely, happy to. So my name's David Streeter. I am a little bit over 50 years old now, which is hard to believe because sometimes I still think like I act like I'm in my 20s. But um, I'm married and I have four children. My oldest son is now almost 24 years old, and my youngest is a sophomore at St. Joseph Academy, and she's a daughter, and then I have two daughters in between, a 22-year-old daughter who was working for me recently, but just relocated to Cincinnati because she got a new job. And then my third daughter, Willa, is a junior at St. Joseph Academy, and she's 16 years old. So I've been married now for since 2000, so almost 26 years here. And I graduated law school in 2001. So as you know, I graduated from St. Ignatius High School in 1993. Then I went on for my undergrad at Holy College of the Holy Cross up in Worcester, Massachusetts. I graduated there from in 1997. I took about a year off and then continued on with my education at the law school, Case Western Reserve. I graduated there from 2001 and have been practicing law ever since. Initially, I was working as a first year lawyer for a small firm in Fairview Park that had three attorneys. And at that point, there was a big focus on real estate. And that's what I primarily focus now. I work on real estate matters and work with a lot of landlords. We do quite a few evictions, but what I love to do is work with small business owners to help them form their businesses. And as it goes, many of them it's related to real estate. So that's kind of where I got to today. And it's been kind of a journey ever since, learning something new every day.
What part of your work are you most proud of?
Essentially, I'm proud of everything that we've accomplished over the years. Can't say it's always been rainbows and butterflies, as they say. We've had a lot of, tough times over the years, but those I found that you get your most growth and the best experience through learning through your mistakes or challenges in life. So I guess I'm just proud that I've been able to kind of manage the business and grow the business consistently over 20 years and have grown a good team. I have good partners that I can rely on and trust, and then a team of support at the office, with everyone that I have the privilege of working with.
How could you describe your business in one sentence to someone in my age?
That if you want to be successful, you have to be willing to do the work and work hard and do it yourself and not rely on others.
What inspired you and led you to become an entrepreneur?
To be honest, my father, I grew up, my father was always an entrepreneur. He was self-employed. Growing up, he had, various businesses, but it was in the cartage and warehousing business. So what that means is, he ran a company that arranged for a shipment of goods to be picked up at point A and point B, and he'd warehouse those items. So I grew up working in the warehouse, driving a tow motor through high school and college, and he always had me sweeping the warehouse floors, doing all the grunt work and the dirty work. And he always told me that he made me do that so I didn't want to be there my whole life, which inspired me to continue on with my education. And then following in his footsteps, I think I knew right away that I didn't want to work for a big corporation. I didn't want to be an attorney in a big law firm. I always had that entrepreneurial mindset, so which is why I've always kind of been on my own.
Can you share the story of how your business idea came to life?
Um, I'm not sure if there is a short story to that. It would be a long and rambling one that I've learned over the years, but I'd like to say that I've had the privilege of having a lot of good mentors in life. I've also worked with people that showed me what not to do. So you learn through both positive and negatives. I think it's all your mindset on how you accept those challenges that are presented. And I guess my mindset has always been that the only thing that can really set me down or put me behind things is myself. I can't control what happens or what other people think, but I can always control my action and my response. And that's kind of my story. It's just ever evolving, but it's always the willingness to basically take things as they come and make the best out of the situation as it's presented.
What are some of the biggest challenges you faced when you started early?
In the early days, it was just kind of being on my own and not having, a lot of guidance. So I've always tried to surround myself with people that have the experience that I was lacking. So I would have not only good guidance, but have the ability or the opportunity to learn from them. I always tell my kids that if they want to succeed in life, they should put themselves in a room with at least five other people and make sure that you're the dumbest person in the room. Because I always say, my dad used to say that only a fool thinks he knows everything. And so I think you have to kind of be open to learn from everyone around you and humble enough to accept what they say, even if you don't agree with it.
How did you overcome these challenges?
I think it was just with hard work and perseverance. There's a story where, I had a little hiccup in my career where I didn't always make the best choices, and that kind of put me behind that eight ball financially, where a lot of people would have just kind of folded up shop and tried something new. I kind of persevered. I accepted responsibility for everything, that had happened and didn't try to make excuses. And then just became determined and told myself that I'm just going to move forward and do the right thing, try to do the right thing every day.
How did you identify a target market and make sure your idea was something people truly needed?
You know what? The target market being for me real estate or people involved in real estate. Real estate is one of those assets that really doesn't go away. We can't make more land, but you can see the buying and selling and the trade of land every day with real estate. And I really fell in love with the nuances to that. And so I realized that my target market, which is real estate and the people involved in that, aren't going anywhere. And so I really kind of, let's see, what's the way to say this? I really just tried to focus on ways to provide good guidance and support and good counsel to my clients as they were involved in real estate.
What makes your business different from others in the same industry?
It's my people. It's my partners. It's the staff that we have. It's the idea that we want to do what is right for our clients and to put them in a position to succeed. My goal is to always make sure my clients understand the options that are available to them, that they understand the pros and the cons. And I don't see myself as someone who tells my clients what to do, but I provide them with the information that they make an educated decision for themselves on how to proceed, and then we go along with that.
Was this uniqueness planned or did it develop over time?
I think it developed over time, but the one thing is that a lot of complaints that you hear about attorneys in general um, is that they don't communicate well or they don't return phone calls. And sure, we're busy, and it's not that I'm always available, at the first phone call, but I really try to strive to return all messages or emails and texts. It seems like every day there's a new method or a new medium for communication. I'm trying to not only be disciplined on staying up on that, but also having a discipline to make my expectations clear to my clients. So I try to, tell them the best way to reach me, which usually is not text message. It's usually through email or a phone call, leaving a voicemail. And then if at first I don't call them back right away, don't be offended because I do miss things every once in a while. To be persistent to get in touch with me, but I do take pride on trying to have good communication with my clients.
How do you stay innovative and ahead of your competitors?
Hmm. It's a good one. I mean, the law is always changing, so we try to keep on top of the current trends. Like, for example, we do a lot of evictions in many courts, municipal courts in Northeast Ohio. Every court's a little bit different. So by becoming familiar with and really understanding the rules of the local court, um, that's a way we stay ahead just because we understand what's expected of our clients. And so we try to demonstrate that to the court on a case by case basis. And that's why we're narrowly focused. We don't do every type of law that's out there. We're really trying to stay in our lane, if that makes
Yep.
sense.
Do you have a product process for coming up with new ideas?
Not really, to be honest. I mean, we come up with new ideas through experience. We come up with, process just by, the experience that we have every day with our clients and with our courts. But my two partners and I, we meet regularly to discuss the current trends, and what we can do differently to improve the level of service to our clients.
What is one important decision that you've made that really shaped the direction of your company?
It's to trust the people around me. Um, and the understanding that I can't do it all by myself. I have to rely on others. I have to delegate, certain duties and responsibilities. But at the same time, I don't ask anyone to do something that I wouldn't do myself. So if that means that I have to, get on a call and follow up with a client to get some information that's needed to move their case forward, sure, I delegate that to our staff and members of our team. But if needed, I'll get on the phone myself and I'll do that.
For any big decision, how did it become difficult?
Well, I think difficult decisions are the ones that maybe affect, other people. As a business owner and an entrepreneur, you have people that rely on you. You have staff, you have things like that. And sometimes, some of the toughest decisions is making the decisions that involve those people. I think as a business owner, I think James Collins said it in Good to Great. A business owner not only gets people on the bus, and the bus being, metaphor for your business, but trying to understand the skill set of people in your organization and getting them in the right seats on that bus, to go ahead to not only make the business successful, but to try to find a space or an area that individual can thrive in. And a lot of times, we all have blind spots, right? So someone in your organization might have aspirations to get to a certain level or a certain position, but do no fault to that person, he or she may not have the skill set to do that. So it's always a difficult decision when I have to tell someone that, hey, you maybe aren't, set for this position, but you're really going to exceed over here, and it may not be something that they really want to do. And my mindset is that I ask them to kind of trust me, give it a try, and we'll revisit it down the road. If it's still something they don't like, we'll discuss on, what changes can be made to make it a win-win situation.
Did you have any role models or mentors who guided you along the way?
Oh, I've had, many role models, and mentors, but, some of them are just authors of great books. I think as any entrepreneur, business owner, you have to be able to read a lot because in those books, there's a lot of knowledge. There's a lot of good direction. There's a lot of life lessons, that can be learned. But my father was always a role model to me. Like I said earlier, he was an entrepreneur. He worked hard. He built businesses. He struggled from time to time, but always, persevered. So if I had to say, a big role model in my life would be, my father. I think like many people.
What is the best advice they gave you?
To not give up, to persevere. And he always said, if you want to be successful, don't ask someone to do something you're not willing to do yourself, and to be willing to do the work. Sometimes I always joke around with my partners that by far I'm not the smartest one in our organization, but I'll be damned if someone outworks me. I'm always willing to do the work, and I try to get into the office early and I stay late when needed. But with that said, I also learned that balance is important. It's not just about working 80 hours a week. It's working about using the hours that you work and to work uh, to work smart, okay? Not and with that balance, I try to carve out time to do things that I like to do. I like to golf, I like to ski, I love to spend time with my family and do all those activities with my family. And it's important for me to then go ahead and make sure that there's time for me to do that. Sometimes that means leaving the office at 1 o'clock, in the afternoon to go hang out with them or to take a couple days off and go skiing. But it's that time away that kind of recharges the batteries and lets me to continually be productive in the business.
Do you mentor others now?
I guess not in an official capacity, but I do try to lead by example. So I think anybody that I work with and those in my organization, I'm always willing to take the time to answer any questions that anyone has. I'm willing to work with any of my clients who are maybe newer investors. I've been doing this for quite a time. I also invested in real estate myself. So I just try to, offer help and guidance, to anyone that needs it and that is not too shy or afraid to ask for the help. If someone asks me for help, I'm going to bend over backwards to help them.
Can you share a failure or mistake that taught you a valuable lesson and how did you overcome it?
Yeah, this sometimes is a sensitive topic for people, but there was a point in my career, and I might referred to it earlier. I made some bad choices, and I had to own up to them. And it was basically I previously owned a title insurance company, and it was a tough time in the real estate market. And long story short, funds in that became short in the title company, and uh, I had to make decisions to, make sure payroll was met and make some sacrifices for that. And, through that whole process, it was just, even though it was one of the hardest times in my professional career, as I look back on it, it was also one of the best times because, through the perseverance and hard work, we were able to overcome it and get through all that.
How did you feel in the moment?
Felt devastated, to be honest. I felt down. I was down in the dumps. A lot of self-doubt. And there was a period of time where I just had to kind of do a lot of self-reflection and just make the decision that I wasn't going to let it keep me down and then just move forward. So, yeah, it was very difficult at that time. But now, as I look back on it, that's one of the periods of my life where I experienced the most growth.
What changed after you learned from that mistake?
It just So after I learned from that mistake, I tend to view all decisions within a different scope or a different lens. I always try to look back and said, okay, what led me to getting in that position, and what can I do differently now moving forward with the opportunity or the decision before me, so it doesn't happen again. And uh, and that's where I think some of the growth has occurred the most.
What keeps you motivated during tough times?
To be honest, my family. And my what I refer to as my work family. A lot of people rely on our business. You know, Employees or members of our team, they rely on their paycheck. My family relies on me to provide a roof over their head. My wife and I both work very hard to do that, but I can tell you that that keeps me very motivated just to be able to support the people that count on me.
Who do you turn for support?
Uh, my wife, my wife Stacy, she's probably number one on the list. She's been my confidant over the years. She's been a rock through those hard times that we discussed earlier. She was the one always encouraging me. Um, and I do have a good support group. I have, my family that I talk to. I also have my business partners, my partner Jim, my partner Sonia. We're not only business professionals with each other, we've become really close friends over the years. And, whether it's a business problem or a personal problem, I know that I have a good support network in those people, that I can rely on.
Do you have any routines or habits that help you stay focused?
Well, I try to get enough sleep. In my younger days, I could I need more sleep now than I used to. I think you'll find that out in many, many years, Elias. When you're young, it seems like you have endless energy, but as you kind of as age creeps up on you, I need to make sure that I have sleep. I don't exercise as often as I do, but when I do, I find that I feel better. And I read. I try to read, or read or listen to audiobooks or podcasts to try to continually develop, my education.
What skills do you think every entrepreneur should develop?
I think read. That's it. Read. I think every entrepreneur should, be reading a couple books a month, if not more. And then to make that part of your daily routine. I also can say then, which I don't practice myself, but I'm working on it now, is to exercise more. Because I think a sound mind and a good body, behind that is what, lays the foundation for every entrepreneur to basically withstand the trials and the tribulations that come with daily life.
Which entrepreneur skill took you the longest to learn?
It was the habit of reading. I was against it. I never considered myself a fast reader. My wife, she reads probably 2, 3 books a week, no joke. Um, and she just flies through these things. And I'm like, how can you like read so quickly? And it's just a skill that she's blessed with. It's not a skill that I have. I would consider myself probably a slow, methodic reader. Um, and I pay attention to the details, so it takes me longer. So to have the perseverance to kind of, you know, weather through that and devote the time when you have so many things pulling at you to just pick up a good book and devote some time to read to it on your own. That was one of the tougher skills for me to learn.
How do you make sure your business has a positive impact on society or your community?
I think just by trying to do the right thing for my clients. You know, when you're a lawyer, there's a lot of things that are adversarial. We represent one side, there's another side. And I try to tell my clients and I tell everyone, hey, if you're trying to get to the truth of something, you have to realize that there's three sides to every story. There's going to be my side, there's going to be the other side, and the truth is probably somewhere in the middle. So uh, having an open mind to realize that and realize that, hey, not everything that I think may be 100% correct, and be humble enough to accept the opinion of others, I think is something that, sets everyone up for success.
Why is this important to you personally?
I guess it's just to try to do my best every day because I feel that if I can look in the mirror every day and say that, hey, I did the best today, um, that's going to lead to the most positive impact to everyone around me.
Have you seen any real life examples of your impact?
That's a good question. I mean, I've seen a lot of growth within some of my individual clients over the years. Like, you know, I have a lot of clients that, invest in real estate. I keep going back to that, but that's what I do. And, you know, I take a lot of pride where I have a client they're working on, maybe buying their first acquisition. Maybe it's a house, a single family house that they're going to, renovate and resell. And I've seen some of these clients move from that one house model to buying, 100 and 200 unit apartment buildings. And to see that growth, because of the impact from the counsel and the advice that we've given them, is great. I've also seen, personal triumphs. I have children, right? I mentioned that earlier. I've seen them kind of stumble along the way, but I think through, the example that not only I provide, but my wife provides too, because we're unified in that front, that they know that perseverance, can get you through anything. So we've seen just little victories by them, over and over and over the years, which make us proud.
If you could go back in time, what advice would you give to your younger self?
Um, to not be a know-it-all. I think when I was young, I thought I knew everything. I got good grades in school. I had a lot of good personal accomplishments, as an athlete. But to humble myself, to accept the opinions of others, even when I didn't agree with them, and to try to learn from them is one of the things that I would tell my younger self to be more open to. I think I would have grown maybe a lot quicker and avoided some of the mistakes, that I kind of went through. Um, and and just I would say that that's one of the important things of a mentor. For you, try to seek out a mentor for someone who has already accomplished what you're trying to accomplish because they've been through the minefield, so to speak. I'm sure you've heard that metaphor where life is like a minefield, and if you're just kind of going through it blindly, you're likely going to step on a mine from time to time. But if you have a mentor that's already been through that minefield, they're going to tell you where to step and what to avoid. Um, as my younger self, I would have sought out the help of a mentor a lot sooner.
Do you think your younger self would listen?
I should hope so. Probably not, though. I think, I mean, that's the thing that I see, all the time, with my children. They don't always want to hear what I have to say. Um, but I think by what you're doing, going through this process, um, it shows me that you're going to be open to some of this stuff. And I know you're recording this and, maybe a podcast or something. And if, a young person hears this, maybe that's a way of, speaking to the younger generation to get them to open their minds a little bit sooner than I did.
What moment in your life that advice would help the most?
I'd say it was probably in my 20s. Just as I was starting out, I was arrogant. I thought I knew everything, and I think I lost a lot of opportunities for growth just because I wasn't open to that. I can't like pinpoint a specific, story or example, off the top of my head. But I think there's probably more examples than I remember.
What advice would you give to young entrepreneurs starting today?
Um, just I think more or less of what I've already said. To be willing to do the work, to be willing to help others, to read books, to find a mentor, and to be open to the opinion of others.
What is one small step someone my age can take right now?
To do exactly what you're doing now. You're asking, me questions. Just continue to ask questions. Someone in your shoes, don't be afraid to ask questions and don't be afraid to ask for help. A lot of times people have pride and they're embarrassed because they don't know an answer or if they're struggling with something. But you will be shocked that if you just ask someone for help, whether it's a teacher, a parent, a friend that is your own age, um, you, people more likely than not are going to be willing to give your help. Sure, you're gonna there could be an example, an outlier here or there where someone is not willing to help because quite frankly that person's selfish. And at the end of the day, if you find one of those people, run away. They're just going to drag you down. You surround yourself with people that are willing to help you, you're going to grow.
What should young people avoid when starting out?
That's a good one. What should they avoid when starting out? Um, avoid negativity. If you're starting out and you find yourself surrounded with people who are always complaining and blaming others for problems, those are the type of people that you should avoid. You want to surround yourself, with positive people who are always looking for the silver lining, because that whether the silver lining always exists. There's always a positive spin that you can take on something. And as a young entrepreneur starting out, you need to avoid the naysayers.
What is your message to young students who dream of creating something of their own?
To believe in it, to believe in your own ability, um, to believe that you can do it, be willing to do the work, and ask others for help to help you get there.
What is the first thing they should do before hearing your message? I mean, after hearing your message.
The first thing, go read a book by any book by John Maxwell.
How can they stay confident even when things get hard?
By surrounding themselves with positive people that are going to support them. You know, when things get hard, you need to rely on others that are around you, and those are the people that are going to pull you through it.
Anything you want to add before we end?
No, I got to say that I'm really proud of you because I can, being in your shoes, you're in eighth grade, right?
Yes.
To be able to sit here and ask someone questions and to try to, I hope you learn something from it and you take at least one or two nuggets. But I just want to say that, you know, I'm proud of you. You're taking that first step, and I know you have a great support network around you. So just rely on them, and be willing to do the work.
Well, thank you, Mr. Street, for giving me the opportunity to interview you.